Welcome to another episode of Uncommon Entrepreneurs, where I'm here today with Manny Roman. We met maybe a year and a half ago when you came down here and spent quite a bit of time and so forth. So we'll be getting into that today. Very interesting story, very interesting startup that he's working on. We're actually filming live today in Trade Space, a co-working space for traders in Santurce, Puerto Rico, where we're based out of. And we're also brought to you today by Donate PR, which is donatepr.com is a platform for nonprofits with 1101c3 for Act 22, as well as just a general donation platform to help nonprofits raise money in kind of a very simplified manner, free to sign up. It's actually 0% commission for those that sign up. So check that out in the link below. So getting into it, Manny, appreciate you joining us. And
thank you for having me.
You flew in today, right?
Just today.
Fresh off the plane.
And boy, are my arms tired.
Right? How's that humidity?
Oh man, it's like I was saying earlier, it's just like you're walking through the atmosphere.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Sometimes when you're
dense compared to LA.
When you're down here for a while, you kind of forget what it's like. But it's cutting butter like with a knife or something.
It's great. I'm loving the air quality though.
Yeah. Better than LA.
Oh yes. Especially lately, when it gets really hot in LA, it just scoops around the San Fernando Valley, and we just get caught in a pocket of poor air.
So Manny, let's get into maybe a little bit of your background. I know that you've had success with startups. You're working kind of in a real estate background for a while. You worked with luxury cars that you've helped rebuild and just all kinds of stuff. So maybe kind of catch people up to speed with like where you're from and your background, and we can kind of get into social spaces, which is the project you're working with now.
Sure. Well, college dropout, 19, started with a company in Lower Manhattan and was slinging adjustable rate mortgage leads to mortgage brokers, where that kind of blew up in our face, and I was just a young guy. I didn't understand where the markets were going. I just saw friends of mine an opportunity, and I capitalized on it. And then when it kind of fell flat on its face, I said, all right, well, now I should pivot into something else that maybe is a new trend, and went for a career builder. Got some experience in media sales and selling ads. From there, my exit strategy, and that was in Arizona, I decided to work in the auto industry, just a passion of mine, understand like the business side of cars, getting a little bit older, in my mid-20s. So did that. VT list was the top 15 salespeople out of 600 some odd salespeople. So I got the B2B kind of in-person tangible sales down. It was mostly over the phone. So when I had the over the phone and then the tangible sale figured out, I moved back to New York and started running sales teams. I was looking at starting with a pharmaceutical company, Forest Labs, and went in wanting them and walked out wanting Nielsen. Ended up getting hired by the world's largest data research company, and absolute dream job. Background checks, references for references, 3 weeks of part-time work just to get the job. Finally got it. Laptop, phone, expense account, company car, work from home, stipend for the beach house in Long Island, for the apartment in Manhattan. It was the life. But got a point in time where it was just, you're building somebody else's dream. So decided to just pick up and announce it to my family at Thanksgiving. Yeah. Come the new year, I'm going to move to LA, reconvene with some old friends from grade school and be an entrepreneur. What am I going to do? Time will tell.
I'm going to entrepreneur.
Yeah, I was going to preneur things. So it just so happened where I was looking for a car. I figured, here we go. This is the #1 car market in the country. I'm going to find something very specific that I want. And in the midst of finding that car, finding all sorts of deals. Sure. So just started buying them up and networking with different shops to drive the restore costs down. Sure. And before I know it, I'm selling some cars and making some money. I'm partnering up with dealerships. I'm like, this is interesting. And then that kind of segued into, all right, let's get into housing now as well, because this was just as Airbnb was heating up. Got it. And buildings were popping up all over LA offering concessions, 1 month to 3 months free. So I'm like, that's free money. So just started signing up leases, and the rest is history from there, pretty much.
Got it. Interesting. So this is when, like 2000?
This was, Social Space was formed in May of 2014.
Wow. 6 years now.
Yep.
Interesting.
We matched over 100 housemates for long-term tenancy. My philosophy was, hey, if we can rent out room by room, we never have to worry about a full vacant apartment, And hey, if they like each other enough, they might stick around. And our record was 2 years, 8 months, so that was cool. So it was
Interesting.
And every month they're building their relationship in the home, and all I had to do is set it up, fully furnished. Bring a toothbrush, bring your clothes. Don't worry about paying rent on the whole place. You're responsible for just your room. And if it went a week or two with a vacant room, they had the place themselves. No worries. And would host little events. I'd pick them up in classic cars and take them around town and show them around. Most people that are looking for furnished accommodations typically need a car.
Yeah.
You know, don't really know too many people. I was kind of a connected guy, like knowing a few. So I would get them socially moving in town.
Got it. And so let's explain maybe how it's evolved, like what is social spaces now and kind of, where's it going and some of the adjustments?
It kind of happened enough where someone was moving out and it was like hugs and tears of just, this was the best place I've ever lived in. And it was because, not so much when I was first looking, it was because of the where, but it evolved into the who.
Yeah.
The place and the furnishing and the photos and the marketing, that's what got the talent in.
Got it.
At a premium price, right? But they would stay because of the housemate.
Got it.
And now enough with this was amazing, it became a platform over time where it's like, this is probably inevitable, where we have to take some of our findings and create a platform to share it. So met a guy who's a social scientist and he's built a career around cognitive sciences and started talking to him about what works and what doesn't.
Yeah.
And from there it just evolved into this 4-tier matching algorithm that's very, very simple. It takes you under 3 minutes to go through the whole survey.
Got it.
And we don't say we're finding you the most unbelievable, perfect housemate. We're just here to rule out non-negotiables. How willing are you to live with an animal? How willing are you to live with a smoker? What are some of your hobbies and interests? What home features are important to you? And let's rank those. What are your personal preferences? Is it a 4-hour drive or a fly?
Yeah.
It's like different things like that. It's very, very simple. And I wanted the whole flow to be kind of this experience where with every question, I can see why they're asking that kind of undertone.
Sure. I think you're hitting the nail on the head with this current situation we're in, where people are questioning their living conditions. And if you were living by yourself before and comfortable, now you're kind of maybe questioning it, going, you know what, I might want to, be with somebody that's kind of like a like mind if I'm going to be inside a lot of times, as we kind of have like a lockdown type concept. So it's like you're hitting on kind of all cylinders right now. So how's the vibe in LA right now, and kind of like you're testing this market out and so forth?
Yeah, so we kind of have a spread. I'm playing in one portfolio that's about 110 million, and in there's commercial and there's single family residential, multifamily residential. And I would say that the housemate side of things, there's not a lot of rooms within that portfolio, but what I have been doing is researching myself different rooms that are available throughout the city. And it's been very interesting seeing the price ranges of rooms drop, because it's kind of Boulevard of Broken Dreams. There's no filming. There's no you'd go to the beach, you'd go to Melrose, and you'll see the photographers out in normal times, and it's just not. And a lot of people had went home. So a lot of these gigs have just kind of went away. That whole industry just kind of got frozen. For the most part. Some are now just starting up again. But for the most part, there's an abundance of homes and rooms on market, and the competition is just driving prices, not crazy low, but noticeably low.
Got it. Interesting. And so how does, what you're doing play a factor? How do you see that kind of closing that gap?
So we have a major eviction issue coming up, and we might be able to push it off again with this new stimulus and try to figure things out from there. The way I see things playing off on the social spaces side, which we have to get working on, is having the ability for a homeowner to leverage their asset to get what they need.
Got it.
Whether it would be value is determined a lot of different ways. You could be generating cash flow, or you can have someone in that property marketing other properties in your portfolio, or they could be working the books, or maybe you need just an executive assistant that's going to live in your property. So it's kind of a use what you have to get what you need on the homeowner side, and then do what you do best for what you need most on the consumer user end.
Got it.
So you live in exchange for credits that redeem for rent.
Yeah, that's an interesting topic. Let's get a little bit more into that, because I think that's really what makes what you're doing very different than Airbnb or something, because you're connecting people with like what their skills are, if they're a programmer, a digital creator or whatever.
Yeah.
And I know you're kind of interlacing the blockchain with it too, which is pretty interesting. So maybe kind of elaborate and fill us in.
Yeah, some of the blockchain stuff is just like, I feel like it just confuses a lot of people, because people don't really understand, at least the masses. There's a lot of different strategies and ways to educate people without even talking about blockchain. Like, I was having an interesting conversation the other day about having it just be an open ledger. Like, the cash came in from X person, it went straight to this person for this specific task. And like, here's our books, and it's just a running ledger. So that is essentially the way it would work, but the important part here is having someone go in, simply say what they have to offer up, whether it be an asset that's deeded or titled, like a car or a house, right? And then simply tell the system what it is that you need, skill-wise. Now, on the user end, on like the digital nomad end, they're going to be talking about their skills. They're going to be talking about what they offer in terms of their skill, because they want to live, work, and travel between a destination and homes and not have to worry about how they're making money, where they're staying, is it safe, all this stuff. So providing an environment where it can be kind of a utility token eventually, it can evolve into a utility token, but we can create like a funny money kind of credit, right? And we can start building, people can start building their own reputation by doing what they do best or what they need most.
Got it. I mean, that's interesting. Yeah, because you're right. Maybe it can get a little confusing when you throw in the term blockchain, but it's actually pretty simple, because you're going to make it just give people an option where they're able to like build a reputation, kind of like Airbnb will give you, right? Where somebody will rank how you did or whatever, but this is going to be, and it's more transparent, and it stays there for life. Maybe you want to elaborate on that. That's kind of where you guys are going with it.
Absolutely, because now if Drew has completed 50 tasks over the last year and was done early and handed in with high quality, then maybe Drew is going to be put in a somewhat more of a priority class. Right? A more elite class where you're going to have access to really nice properties, maybe. You're going to have access to a higher bidder on a job, because of this built-in reputation. And it's not like, Glass Mirror season 3 episode 1, like Nosedive, where there's like a ranking over your head. It's simply how much you're involved in the system is the credit count. It's not going to be like we take credits away when you said you weren't a smoker and now you're smoking in the house. Or you didn't complete that job, so oh no. Maybe it will affect kind of like an Upwork thing where it would say the percentage of jobs completed. But we don't mean for anything to be derogatory. It's not a race to earn credits. It's really just a way to do what you do best for what you need most, which in most cases is housing and transportation.
Got it. Yeah. And so how do you see that industry, like remote workers and so forth, developing right now?
Well, there's estimates out there that 1 billion remote workers by 2035.
Wow.
And I'm a 7-time uncle, and I was talking to my niece, and she was saying that she's learning, Word and Excel and PowerPoint now. So they're getting programmed really early now to understand these platforms and prep them to be a remote worker and kind of do it yourself kind of education platform kind of way. But I see that remote working is definitely evolved over the past couple of years alone. More and more, like Remote Year and Nomad List, these platforms are growing.
What are those, maybe for people that don't understand?
They're just a platform for fellow nomads to commingle in different cities, where this is a platform where you have these people in this group, and they represent this, and you can kind of bounce around and like find your tribe kind of wherever you are.
Yeah, I think that's very critical right now, right? Because you're not able to go out to a bunch of events to maybe accomplish the same thing. So you need kind of like a social platform like you guys are creating to be able to do that.
Yeah, I just heard on KCRW the other day, it's like suicide hotlines are up 600%. You know, social anxieties and depression was the pandemic even before this pandemic.
Yeah.
So it's only getting worse, and it's very important that people are surrounded by the people who don't think that they sound crazy, because a lot of these anxieties root from being mismatched in life in general.
Yeah.
Where it's, I'm talking about these ideas and nobody's getting them or saying they make sense or complimenting me. Maybe it's just that you need to fix your tribe up a little bit. You need to get around the right people. And that's like the version 2 of what this is. So we start with housing and long-term housing, and then we move into groups of like-minded locals for shared experiences that are educational, recreational, charitable, hopefully all 3 at once. You know, it doesn't have to be 15 people. We're thinking more like 5. Get some introverts, some ambiverts,
Yeah.
some extroverts in there, and switch it up a little bit.
Sure.
You know, and have them, okay, you surf, cool. You're into tech, cool. You are also playing an instrument. You know, how about you guys meet? We already know the weather report. We already know the surf report. We'll eventually have a calendar. We'll suggest a time, because that's the biggest hurdle. Mm-hmm. When is it going to work for everyone? So changing our relationship with the internet from a search to a shop. It's just suggestions. You've said that in the past you want to go to Bali. Well, we have a group of 15 people going to Bali that you might get along with, and if we bundle you guys up, we can get cheaper airfare, we can get cheaper accommodations, and you can now travel and experience new cultures and educate yourself and meet interesting, cool people.
Yeah, exactly. We're on the same page. I mean, with everybody that's going through what they're going through, with the social anxiety that comes with this, you know, current situation in the world, it's causing us to adapt, to change. You know, we should be all cautious to not like just drop off the map and communicating with people, because like it'll build up and you won't even like realize how you might be, you know, missing,
Right.
and then all of a sudden you're just a totally different person, versus what you're doing is kind of like helping to create something in the middle to like help, you know, bring that anxiety and help somebody be in like the present moment, versus thinking too far ahead, which can cause
Right.
anxiety, or too far in the past of mistakes, which can cause depression. So
Yeah.
I think you guys are right there.
And comparatively to the past, where I was talking to an officer just yesterday in LA, I was saying like, so what's crime like? What is it like compared to previous years?
Yeah.
He says, well, it's really not as bad as 2009, because 2009 just kind of hit everyone and it hit their pockets. And then it was a different type of desperation.
Yeah.
You know, this was a different hit. This was a playoff fear. That was a loss. This is all fear. And now they're stuck at home. There's somewhat of a safety blanket of the stimulus that comes through. It's not exactly life-changing for a lot of people, but it's something for a lot of people.
Sure.
And while crime isn't as bad, people are doing a lot of self-reflecting, and for better or for worse, I think that it could be a good thing overall for people to just take the time to understand, like Socrates, understand thyself, you know, a little bit. Whereas now there's time to be at home and not have the social pressure of the Instagrams of the world, where it's like you have to show the life because, well, everyone's home and there's no showing off anymore. So like that pressure was dropped. But I think over time it's only it'll compound a little bit more, and people will they definitely have anxiety still, and it's definitely getting a little worse. But I think it's overall, in the long term, could be a good thing. I mean, hard to speculate.
Well, it could be a good thing for the individual that takes it the way you're describing.
Yeah.
And it's obviously a hard lesson that we're all learning, but you're right. If you dive into like knowing thyself in this moment, you know, you can be grateful for like the things that you do have in your life, even though you don't have everything. And
absolutely,
you know, it's really just a mindset at that point.
Absolutely, it's so important to just know what you have and know that there's shelter and know that, I mean, for some people, it's just not even being evicted.
Yeah.
Maybe they're struggling even before, because guess what? Things were in like the best of shape even before all this.
Yeah.
So some people are looking at this thing as kind of a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
You know, and you can see the people who are kind of kicking back and just like, okay, I can take it easy for a couple months here. But others are kind of trying to really capitalize on it and find their little ways with like PPE is definitely a big one, but there's the hustlers just still doing their thing, and there's other people who are just like are trying to discover themselves or reinvent themselves.
For sure.
That's important to do too.
I think everybody needs to right now. Maybe leave people with, how's the vibe in LA right now? How's, everybody sees the riots on TV, but, how are things?
It was surreal. It was surreal. I would just hop in the car and just drive around in the thick of it, and like they were blocking off on the 10 to get off at the 4th Street to go to the promenade, and cars are just going right over the cones, just not caring. There's choppers all over the place. There was 4 units zooming past you going this way off something, and then you see the choppers doing sharp cuts and going over there and getting the video, and then you're being at a light on Main Street and seeing the CVS get hit, like watching these people just right through the glass, then jump in the car, then the other guys go running in. Just a while, then you go around the corner and the guy's there in a small park with his child playing. It's like the division, it's like people will loot and people will act like kind of nothing's happening, and it's really interesting.
It's calmed down now.
It's calmed down a lot, yeah, definitely. It lasted for a couple of days, and then the reserves came in. The tanks definitely showed up. I got a bunch of pictures on just Abikini with, the powers that be showed up, and they were not messing around. And the protesters that were peaceful were walking up and down Abikini, up and down many boulevards, as you saw on TV.
Got it.
And that was cool. But they were there just in case.
Is life pretty normal at this point, or?
I guess comparatively to a lot of other cities, I guess LA's in a unique situation where it's just great outside, and when they allow for beachgoers to do their thing and trails to be open, it kind of feels a little normal because that's what people do anyhow. But the whole mask thing and kind of like the social shaming, it happens. It's like you just have the person walking past, like even if it was just like off for a second, I don't know if they saw you, they had it on previously or what, but there's some shaming that goes on, but it's an adjustment for everybody. In LA, it's definitely a little bit of a luxury to be there, given the weather and given the beach.
Yeah.
It's easy to get away from it all, kind of. But I would say with the pouring out of the restaurants into the streets in all the cities around LA, people are starting to get out a little bit more and feel a little bit more comfortable about it, but obviously very cautious.
Got it. Well, good. Wrapping up, leave you if you have a comment or two you want to leave the audience, but I know you guys are kind of going through a raise right now, and you're obviously getting prepared to launch what you're doing. How could somebody learn more about you and what you guys are doing with Social Spaces?
Well, a lot's to come, a lot of announcements are to come. We kind of are just managing some property and bootstrapping the company at the moment, because we know we have our whole motto is access over ownership, and that is of property and of human capital.
Got it.
So we can pay someone that wants to be a part of Social Spaces very little to be a part of it, and they love it, and we love them, and it works out phenomenally well. So we're kind of practicing the change that we want to see in the world. We leverage properties and rooms for people to stay in exchange for work. So that's going very, very well. In terms of the raise, probably not for another month or so.
Got it.
I just want to continue to build value, put in a couple more process patents in terms of the matching and lock some of that stuff in.
Nice.
Any way we can build value is what we're doing. We're in the design sprint right now, which is very exciting, because I like to think of myself as being somewhat of a designer, staging all these properties. I enjoy photography and videography, so it's been a fun time.
Yeah.
Watching the algorithm come through and like running the tests and seeing it all work. It's been exciting. So we're just kind of a quiet storm.
Nice.
At the moment. but we're going to hit when the time is right.
Cool. Nice. Okay. Well, good. We'll put below how to get a hold of you and everything. Appreciate you coming. Good to see you in town.
Good to see you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Signing off.